Greetings and welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Chris.
And this time is the TV shows of 1995. And at the top of the show, as always, I'd like to give a really big shout out to our supporters, Andrew and Tristan. We really appreciate your support, and if anyone listening would like to do the same, then you can't, as we have shut the Patreon. But we do have a replacement coming. Look out for more information coming later this week. And I mentioned Andrew's name right there. He's one of our wonderful supporters, and we kind of got an opportunity to thank him in person this week because he's actually here. So I'd like to welcome to the show the editor-in-chief of Lost in Cult, the Lolocon books, and fellow podcaster from the Dreamcast Years. It's Andrew. Hello.
Hello. How's it going? I literally just came on just so you could thank me in person. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pay-to-play podcast, this, so you literally have to give us money to be on it. So
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I assumed.
Yeah.
It's gone.
We're locked behind a paywall. So welcome to the show, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're very excited for you to be on. And I know you've got a wonderful TV show to talk about a bit later, so look forward to that. Chris and Rich, how are you two this week? All right?
Yeah, I'm all right, yeah. First of all, it's nice to meet Andrew for the first time.
It is, isn't it?
He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah,
He does.
I'm very grateful.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah. I've had a week off work, so I'm pretty chill. Yeah.
Banging.
Yeah,
Excellent.
getting there. I had a month off work and I'm second week back. I'm feeling it.
I bet after a month.
Oh,
Wow.
God. Well, it was an unintentional month.
Yeah, I bet. I think it was to do with a little car accident that you had, wasn't it?
Just a small one.
Yeah.
You know,
Just a little one.
only $5,000 worth of damage on a 14 grand car, but it's fine.
Yeah, we're all right. Yeah.
We're not even a year into PCP.
Of course.
PCP? What?
You know, monthly payment finance.
Oh, okay. We meant PCP. I was like, Jesus.
No.
What's that got to do with it?
And just oops.
Yeah.
So never
I
mind.
bet that's what you
Oh,
said
dear.
when you crashed the car.
Yeah.
I said more than that. I'll tell you what. I said less than that because they put me on gas and air in the ambulance, and I've never been so chilled in my life. It was just like, wow.
I think.
But yeah, I'm alright.
I think a trip to Chris might be quite an interesting experience.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to admit to a few things, but I get quite hyperactive. But not
really?
that time.
Never noticed.
Yeah. Could just imagine me drinking. Richard tell you some stories. I just don't stop. I'm like a child.
Amazing. So swing back around to you quickly, Andrew. If anyone's listening that doesn't know you or what you get up to, I mentioned slightly there about Lost in Cult and Dreamcast Years, but why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I guess the thing that I was known for originally was, and if you don't know me, how dare you? How dare you not know who I am? No, so I was. I wrote a book about the Dreamcast called Dreamcast Year 1, which I kickstarted and it did pretty well. And then I kickstarted my second book, which I'm still working on. It's been a very, very, very long process. They're still going on. So Dreamcast Year 2 is in the works, and as part of that whole thing, I kind of founded Dreamcast Years along with Rich and then our good friend Steve, and eventually your good self as well, Jason.
Yes.
Which is a podcast where we talk about the golden years of gaming, which has expanded from like 5 years to about 20 now. Just keep adding them on.
You do, don't you? This is like the third or fourth revision, isn't it?
Yeah, I have promised that I will stop now, and I'm going to stick to that promise because I think if I could just kept adding them on, people wouldn't take me seriously. Not that they do anyway, but you know, just can't keep adding. It wouldn't be the golden years of gaming anymore. It would just be gaming.
Yeah.
So so that's
all
fun.
of gaming is the golden years.
But yeah, so that's good. So I do that as a podcast, and then I work over at Lost in Cult, which is like we do a lot of different things. We're like a publisher, so we publish our own journal, which is Lock On, which is a video games journal essentially, and there's lots of cool articles in there and amazing artwork. And the second volume is actually due to ship hopefully in the next week, which is going to be great.
Jeez.
And then we're working on the third volume, which I don't know when you're planning to release this particular episode. But Monday. Well, in that case, keep an eye out, because on Monday we have something special to share on the 29th.
This is an exclusive. I'm excited.
It is. I'm very excited by it. It's very cool. But yeah, we do all that kind of stuff, and we have like a members club, so people who back us on Kickstarter, or if they just want to join, they can join the members club, and all of our staff writers are on there, and they write articles about basically whatever they like. We don't give them a remit; they can just write recommendations for games or books or films that they enjoy, and then they can write articles about anything that takes their fancy, pretty much. And it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's basically what I do. Oh, and I'm a team member over at the Dreamcast Junkyard as well, so I host most of the Dream Pod over there, which is a lot of fun. The guys there are a lot of fun. So yeah, that's what I do.
Don't really do much.
No, not much. No. And I'm definitely not planning to do any more podcasts. No
more plans. Sure. Yeah, sure. Now, you mentioned about Lost in Cult and the Lock On books, and I have Volume 1, and it is everything that was promised. It's a very beautiful book, and the art does really complement the writing in there very nicely. So I'm very excited to hear that my Volume 2 might be shipping out in a week. So
yes.
I will say crossed. Volume 1 still smells fantastic as well, so even after all this time.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I've heard that the smell of 2 isn't quite as pungent, but the quality is better overall, so it makes up for it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay then, well, let's get into the show, and I guess the first question that I have, which is the first question, well, it's not the first question this week, but it's normally the first question I ask every week, and that is, what is in your glass, Rich?
Ooh, what have I got this week? I have got, it's Overloaded by Amundsen Brewery. Yet again, Amundsen Brewery. They're not a sponsor.
But they bloody well should be.
They should be, yeah. Amundsen, pay us, please. It's a Neapolitan ice cream shake imperial pastry stout. It is 11.5%. And yeah, I'm feeling it, I must say. I've nearly finished it. It's fantastic. I think I've had this one before. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I got this for my birthday. It's lovely stuff.
That is banging, mate. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty damn stunning.
Yeah.
So we're that time of year now, back on the stouts and porters again.
Mm-hmm. So have you got the Christmas beers?
Not yet.
Ordered?
No. I'm hoping I get some for Christmas, but I've got one eye on the some of my various internet sources, so I might order myself some just in case.
Probably a wise move.
Yeah, I don't trust anyone to give me what I want, so could get it for myself.
Yep. And have you got a nice rating for this one?
Ooh, I'll give this one a 9.4, I'm going to say. Yep.
Tasty.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pass this question over to Andrew as well, because I know Andrew might be drinking a nice little tipple there as well.
I am. I think this is pretty much the first time I've ever had a beer on a podcast, which is amazing. It's like, so anybody who doesn't know, Rich converted me to beers this year. Like, I hated beers since the age of 15 when I got incredibly drunk on Budweiser and vodka shots and then threw up everywhere, and since then the taste of beer is just not been good for me. Rich introduced me to sours when we went to a beer festival. I don't know why I agreed to go to a beer festival and I don't like beer, but I did. And Rich introduced me to sours, and they're the best thing ever. So I'm currently drinking a double maple triple chocolate blueberry s'more from Vault City.
Lovely.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
As well.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. 10%.
10%.
Ooh.
I'm only about halfway through it, and I'm definitely feeling it, and I'm up for work in the morning, so I'm slightly worried now. But
Andrew's going to be slurring by the end of the show. Have you got a rating for that, Andrew?
Ooh. Do you know what? I probably only drank about maybe 7 or 8 sours so far ever, so it's up there. I think it's probably a 9. I'd probably give it a 9. Yeah.
Excellent. No, those Vault City beers do look really tasty, and I'm quite tempted to try and get some myself for Christmas. But
Sure.
I said that a year ago, and I still haven't got any.
Come on, Chris.
Keep forgetting. This year has been so shit.
That's why you need beer, Chris.
Yeah.
You need beer. It's the perfect year.
I just keep forgetting, and then you record and you think, oh shit.
Come on. You've got a perfect excuse if the year's been that bad. Let's finish it off with some good beer.
Yeah,
we'll send you a care package.
Yes.
You have, yeah. It's just been a gut punch after a gut punch. Anyway,
excellent. Right,
I'm drinking coffee.
I was going to say, I'm sure me and Chris are drinking boring crap, so we won't even go there, and you've just proven me right.
I think me drinking coffee is equivalent to someone else drinking alcohol, so...
fair enough.
Fess up, Jason, what are you drinking?
I've got a nice glass of water.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes.
Filtered or tap?
Yep.
Same question.
Straight out the tap. So this is why I never ask myself or bring this up, because my drinks are always boring.
Unbelievable.
I know, right? I haven't got a pick this week. Andrew's kindly taken my place for this one, so you've all been, I'm going to say relieved, but I think that's the wrong word. I don't know why, but I have been relieved of my duties. Maybe that's where I was going. So we are going to do that. But first, I want to talk about a little TV show that returned this Sunday evening. What show do you think that might be?
Ooh, I'm going to go with...
Eurotrash.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
I would do anything to have Eurotrash back. That is just a work of art, that show.
That was
so clever.
Yeah.
Is it Keith Chegwin's Naked Jungle?
How did you know, Rich?
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I mean, he's dead, but
he's so naked that
I don't want to see. I really don't want to see Keith Chegwin naked now. But
no, absolutely. Well, that went in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Sorry.
But no, that's fine.
As always.
Yeah, as always.
Forgetting he's dead. I'm really sad now. Shit.
Yeah. Oh.
Damn it. Anyway,
let's bring it back up. And it was Gamesmaster. Gamesmaster returned on YouTube to start with, before premiering on E4 only last night at the time of recording. I've watched it. I know Rich has watched it. Mm-hmm. Andrew watched it this evening. Chris, did you watch it?
I haven't watched it. No. But spoil away, because I'll probably completely forget by tomorrow.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, well, what was the impressions? Rich, tell me what your impressions were.
I mean, I loved it. And first of all, I will say that I don't watch TV, like linear television anymore. And I was actually busy around, was it 7 p.m. it came on YouTube?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, I've missed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I can just wait 1 hour and watch it on YouTube when it is immediately there on demand. I was treating it almost like it was linear TV. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how much it kind of transported me back, like 25 years. I was like, oh, it's Gamesmaster. I've just missed it. But yeah, I really, really, really liked it. I thought it was done as well as it could have been. It had the spirit and the feel of Gamesmaster, but it didn't feel like it was kind of pandering to us old fans. It wasn't trying to be like super tribute or homage. It was very much doing its own thing as, you know, a rebooted show. And also it was the fact that the whole gaming landscape has changed so massively compared to where we were when that show was in its heyday. I mean, you can't just do the same thing again, nor should you. You've not got the same host. It's all new, refresh, but it still had the DNA. I felt completely at home the moment it started. When was it Robert Florence? Was it Rob Florence? The host. Yeah, as soon as he came out, I just felt kind of at home with like the druids and the hoods. It was in those what was it, like a pumping station, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah,
not a set, an actual location.
It's a working pumping station. They were using it at the time of recording, and apparently the smell was quite pungent.
Yeah, didn't necessarily like, and I think it's more of a thing that's common now with TV. I didn't like the whole kind of Top Gear feel now, when everyone just kind of stands behind with their arms folded. Like the audience, it's a weird pet peeve I have with television. I don't know why. It just seems like every show does the same format now, with the audience. It's kind of a bit too casual for me. Maybe it's just me being weird, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Trevor McDonald as the Gamesmaster. I think, banging. I still feel like maybe I'm being a bit unfair. It was the one thing I thought was just a perfect choice, but if I had any kind of nitpicks, I still felt maybe from the first episode, he's not quite completely in his delivery completely there yet. He's still kind of feels a bit like he's reading off something, and like there's something more instant and immediate with Patrick Moore. And I'm not trying to do comparisons. It's not fair, but I don't know. Maybe we've got 2 more episodes left, so he hasn't got much time, but maybe he'll get a bit more comfortable with it. Some of the stuff are a little bit off, but again, I'm nitpicking.
Yeah.
But I like the role he had now. I mean, obviously you couldn't do the consultation zone anymore. We don't live in the age now of kids waiting to find walkthroughs. It's all there on YouTube. There's no need. So him kind of introducing the challenges and talking to the challengers before they stepped into the arena, I thought that was nicely done. And I kind of like how they made it kind of a bit Room 101-ish now as well, with them being dropped to their death if they lose. You've actually got like stakes now. Instead of them not just winning the golden joystick, there's actually the threat of imminent death. So that's good. No, I really, really like it. The hosts are all fantastic. Trevor McDonald was good. I think they did the best they could after such a long time, and I can't wait for this Sunday. Really, really can't wait. So yeah, I loved it.
Now, Andrew, a little bird told me that you've not watched Gamesmaster before.
No, never in my life have I watched an episode of Gamesmaster
Until today,
yeah.
What was your impressions of this program?
You say there's only 3 episodes, or only making 3 episodes of it?
Of the new one, they are, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see why.
Ooh. Hot take coming up.
Ooh.
It was my first episode of Gamesmaster. It will certainly be my last. I didn't like it.
Fair enough. What was it that you didn't like about it?
So I just don't think it was for me. I don't think it's aimed at me. I've never been somebody who really cares that much about gaming as a competition. Like, I don't sit and watch esports. I don't watch people play Super Smash Brothers against each other, or watch people play Tekken or anything. So I get it, but also I was like, I don't know who these people are. I don't really care who they are. Like the first one with the Super Mario thing, I was like, okay, that's all right. But then the couple who played Call of Duty, nobody should be playing Call of Duty. Fuck that shit. And second, like I didn't care. And the presenters were fine. It was all fine, but there was so much of the stuff with the people I didn't care about, and then like the presenters, like there was a review of Cruise and Blast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it felt incredibly short, and like, okay, and that was fine, but it's like, well, reviews for video games for a dime a dozen on YouTube. Doesn't feel like there's a point of having it on a show. Basically, to be honest, I've just never felt that video games work on a TV show format. There's been a few that have done it okay, like Bits was great, and I didn't mind Thumb Bandits. But by and large, when you put video games onto TV, it just never feels like the hobby that I know. It's either skewed to a laddie kind of side of it, or it's skewed to a nostalgia side of it, or it's skewed to a competition side, and it's like, it's just not, it's not something that I'm interested in gaming wise. So I can see why people like it, and obviously if you used to watch it, I totally get why it would be nostalgic for you. I completely agree about Trevor McDonald. It felt like he was reading off a script for the whole time. And I found it just really cheesy in places, like when people fell to their deaths, obviously they were just told to go and then a really badly CGI'd thing of them goes into the thing. It just all felt weird, and they got a celebrity on who I'd no idea who they were, who then confessed that they'd played Splatoon 2, which was the game they were playing, for a bit around their mums. It's like, okay, so you've come onto a show to play a game competitively, and you've played it for a few minutes around your mums, and get beaten by a kid. I don't know. It just also, it just wasn't for me, basically.
That's interesting to hear that take, though, because obviously, like, I agree with everything Rich said, but I watched it back in the day. You know, I grew up with Gamesmaster. I've got that nostalgia for it. So coming into this, I have that kind of history with the TV show already. Yeah. So I think the way that they did it was great, and literally what Rich said I agreed with, but I can see, like, from someone who's never watched it, that it could be quite off-putting in some places. I mean, the whole Abyss thing, I loved it. I thought it was quality. I loved the bad CGI. I think they did that on purpose.
Yeah, it was very much tongue-in-cheek. It kind of fit with the tone of the original show. It was kind of a bit...
But, like, they used to do that in the old show with the pit, but you never really saw anything. You just saw them walk off, and you just assumed that they went to the pit. Yeah. But seeing them go into the Abyss and seeing them drop in like that, and then you just see them fall into the lava, and it's just like, and then that's it. Every time I just laughed. It was quality.
I mean, I did laugh. I did cackle, actually. I mean, I kind of had my reservations about Trevor McDonald, but that bit when the couple went in the pit and he says, "Oh, but how young love dies," and he just says, "They're dead." Like, he just emphasised it. I was like, "Okay, you got me there, Trev. You got me."
I did giggle at that.
The delivery was so, because he was kind of almost kind of reading it. It kind of made it even more deadpan. Like, because he just had completely straight face, straight tone to it, and he just was very blunt. And
it's just so dry, isn't he? And even the ketchup and mustard challenge.
When never had those guys ever. So no, just for the record.
Nor had I. But when the ketchup dude fell into the lava, and then there was just that couple of seconds silence, and he went, "I prefer mayo." I don't know.
That challenge as well. That was like when the main host brought them out, and it was like, this is really exciting. This is really important. These are really important people. I'm like, I have no idea who they are. And it's like, at least if you do watch esports or anything like that, you get a sense that these people have climbed up through the ranks, and they're at these esport events because they're great at what they do. But in this format, they didn't really have a chance. They couldn't do like a montage of the stuff that they'd done beforehand, or because it doesn't fit with what they're doing. But on the flip side of that, it just meant that I had no idea who they were, why they were important. You know, even a short description about the achievements they'd had didn't really give me much of a thing. And it just, I don't know, it just, again, it's not for me. I get that. Like, if I'd have watched Gamesmaster in the day and enjoyed it, then maybe I'd be like, yeah, this is great. I find nothing wrong with like remaking things for nostalgia purposes. But in the age that we're in now, where YouTube is king, you can get reviews of games like just by switching on your TV and searching for the game you want to find a review for, or you can watch people play competitively, or you can go and find like a YouTuber who does funny commentaries on games, or, you know, an interesting documentary about a game. I find that much better than sitting down for 45 minutes and watching a bunch of people I don't care about play games that are not that good. So
I think that that's the trouble for this day and age. So I think they got those kind of people on because they were trying to attract the more younger audience, because obviously they probably knew who all these people were, instead of us three middle-aged men, you know.
You call him middle-aged.
You're getting there, Andrew.
Exactly. I think that's why you have to do that, because it does just become a tribute show. It becomes a nostalgia fest, and I don't want that, because it is kind of pandering and it doesn't have any real substance to it. It's purely like, do you remember? And it's like, I don't want that.
No.
And
I like the features that they did do, just to break it up, with the playing that driving game on the couch.
Educating Grado was fantastic.
I'm
a wrestling fan, so I recognise Grado, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, Grado's on this, fantastic."
Sure, but excuse me, but I think it was quite good that they got these kind of people onto the show, because apart from that Call of Duty one, which was just shit on many levels, but I think the other ones were quite strong. Maybe that Celebrity one as well, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But the Mortal Kombat one and the Super Mario one, they were quite strong because of the people that they got on. If it was just Joe Bloggs off the street like it was in the old ones, then those challenges may not have been so entertaining.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I didn't mind the Super Mario one, to be fair. Like, I felt like it started off fairly strong and then it just lost me, I think. So I didn't mind that one. The Call of Duty one, yeah, not great. But then I just didn't get the Mortal Kombat one at the end either, to be honest. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I can see why. Like, I can't knock people for bringing back something that's nostalgic because I write about the Dreamcast for what I do, and I write like about old video games and stuff. So, you know, people love nostalgia, but it's just not a nostalgia that I hold personally. So although it wasn't for me, and I'm knocking it because that's just my opinion, because I'm, you know, I can see why people would like it, and it's certainly not terrible, and I can see hopefully the younger people might enjoy it, because as much as I don't think this stuff works on modern television, that's not to say that I wouldn't love it to work. You know, like if they brought something back like Bits, or something, like I'd be all over that. So, you know, if people really like Gamesmaster, and I know that there's a huge love for it out there, if it works for everybody who really enjoys it, and it also works for some of the young'uns out there, then great, all power to it. Hopefully it gets more than 3 episodes, even though I joked at the beginning. But yeah, it's certainly not something that I would continue to watch, but it's great that it exists and it's come back for sure.
Yeah, I know I'll be looking forward to Sunday and episode 2. So are my kids. And I think that was the other thing I quite liked about it. Apart from the Mortal Kombat, I had to cover the Tyler's eyes, because I knew it was going to get quite gory, and I was quite glad I did.
You had no knob gags though, so that was a relief.
Yeah, exactly. So it was quite nice to sit down and watch something like that with my kids as well. So yeah, it's going to be a fun episode, hopefully on Sunday. As we talked about TV picks, let's get straight into them. And why don't we get into your pick first then, Chris, and tell the good people what TV show you picked as your TV show 1995.
Well, it's Star Trek Voyager.
Computer, is there an identification matrix on Mr. Neelix from the last time he used the transporter?
Affirmative.
Transfer it to console 4. What are you doing? I'm using the transporter matrix to get exact specifications for Neelix's lungs.
I thought you just said we can't replicate his lung.
We can't. But if I can reconfigure my emitter array, I might be able to create a pair of holographic lungs for Mr. Neelix.
Holographic lungs?
If it's successful, we can precisely control his pulmonary functions to allow normal breathing.
But a hologram is just a projection of light held in a magnetic containment field. There's no real matter involved.
Now, you hit me. The magnetic containment field that creates the illusion of my body can be modulated to allow matter to pass through it, or be stopped.
Yeah, so we're 1995. I'm just about 11. Like, just. And this new Star Trek comes on. And obviously we've had Next Gen and DS9 and all the original series movies. And I remember the trailers coming out, and this was before I had the internet. And you didn't even see this stuff in the papers. It wasn't even a UK thing to report in the papers. So I remember it came on, and I'm like, "Whoa, wait, what?" And yeah, so this new show comes out straight on the heels of DS9 and Next Gen, and produced by the same people, the same behind the scenes people, and it just felt homely. I don't know what they did right. It just felt, I don't know. Maybe it's because I was a young age, and it was this, 2 years after DS9 debuted, and we had this brand new show.
Was it? Do you think because we'd had Deep Space Nine, and it was such a complete change to the Star Trek formula?
Complete left field.
Yeah. So we'd gone from Next Gen, where it was normal Star Trek formula, to Next Generation, which was based solely on a space station, well, mostly on a space station, which was stationary. That was the home, and Voyager came along, and it went back to the old kind of Star Trek formula.
Yeah, it went back to the Planet and Alien of the Week format,
and maybe that's why it felt quite homely, familiar, didn't it?
It's odd because I remember everyone always asks you, don't they? Like, when did you discover wrestling? When did you discover your love of Star Wars? What was your first James Bond or Star Wars movie? I don't remember what my first Star Trek memory was. And it's weird, because I don't. I just remember liking this thing with all these pretty colours and this spaceship and these adventure a week type things, and it really worked for me on a personal level, and it just stayed with me ever since. And growing up I was aware of Next Generation, and then obviously when that became a hit in the early 90s in the UK, it kind of, Star Trek was at its most powerful between 1990 with The Undiscovered Country all the way through until about 2000 when Voyager started winding down in its last season or two. It was this literal powerhouse of production. They were churning it out. Next Gen movies, Next Generation was winding down. They were churning out DS9, Voyager. Enterprise was out literally less than a year after Voyager had ended. They didn't stop. And I think I've brought this up in another podcast as well, because it was all produced by the same people all the way through consecutively. It felt homely. The whole Star Trek universe felt like this complete bubble of aesthetics and writing and music. Because they used the same composers, the same sets, they used the same matte painters, they used the same prop designers and prop builders, they used the same seamstresses, the same costume designers. It literally had this encompassing feeling, and then Voyager came along, and it was kind of, like you said, Jason, it went back to episodic TV show setup, where DS9 was very politically driven. They wanted to throw that away with Voyager and go action adventure on a weekly basis, and I think they did it well. And the casting of every Star Trek series, I don't know how they do it, is always on point, apart from maybe one actress or actor who leaves, quite early on or halfway through. Voyager got it bang on. Next Generation got it bang on, as did DS9, and even Enterprise. People give Enterprise crap, but Scott Bakula, dude, come on, he carried that. It was fantastic, and yes, it had its down moments, but the same with Voyager. And I'm so happy that Kate Mulgrew came in and became Janeway in the end, because I don't know if anyone Star Trek fans know that she wasn't the original first choice. They filmed, I think, a day with Genevieve Bujold, a French-Canadian actress, and it wasn't working. And then Kate Mulgrew came in, and she owned it straight away. And can I just say that Star Trek, again, being the first to do landmark things with their TV series, they had the first French, inverted commas, Patrick Stewart playing a Frenchman with an English accent. And then you had the first black lead in a Star Trek show. And then you had the first female. And now with Discovery, we've kind of had the first kind of non-human captain, if you will. It's one of those progressive things that it always knocks on through. But the casting for Voyager is on point. The set design is fantastic. Just everything about it. And I think as an 11-year-old, when you're obsessed with this one little universe that you want to live in, it sticks with you. And because it was brand new when I was a bit older, so when DS9 was out, was 93? So, yeah, this it never ended. It felt like it was never going to end, this powerhouse of Golden Age Star Trek. And they just did it so well. Mm-hmm. They really did. Yes, the writing's a bit hokey and it's extremely well, what? But it's just, I don't know, it works on an ethereal level. It's a strange thing with Voyager. And can I just say as well that the opening credits and Jerry Goldsmith coming back to score that opening theme is a phenomenal idea, and it is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And if you listeners out there have not watched or seen that opening credits for Voyager, it's about 2 minutes of your life. It is sublime, and it is gorgeous. It sounds so beautiful.
Did you did you ever get a bit fed up of it though? I've seen this title sequence quite a lot now, and I just want to see the episode. And
no, I never skip it on Netflix. I never skip Voyager's intro. It's just few Star Trek I mean, when you watch Enterprise, yeah, you skip it. It's all right, or you just mute it and watch the lovely visuals and then just unmute it. But I never get sick of hearing that, even on a soundtrack compilation. Like if you listen to it while walking or working, it just sounds beautiful. It's just got this lovely emotional punch, and that's what Jerry Goldsmith was good at. He could literally, like John Williams and Hans Zimmer and John Barry and all these other famous composers, when they compose emotions and it works really well, that's when you know it's perfect. The concept of Voyager was sold as basically a very small ship with a very small crew literally gets flung way out of their depth. The seeds were set for Voyager apparently in early 90s, 92, where they introduced the Bajoran race and the Maquis renegade factions that were anti sort of Federation kind of crusaders. And the seeds were set really early on, so then it went through Next Gen into DS9, and then you get the seeds are all set, and then Voyager is perfectly set up for this conflict. Now, on paper, these people were flung 75,000 light years away from home. They're on a small ship, a relatively small crew, with about 150 of them, plus this renegade faction of crew from another ship that was also caught in this phenomena that you find out later is a technological race that can move people at fast things across the universe, across the galaxy. But the way they wanted to do the conflict was very, very clever. But I think it was one of those classic cases of interference and design by committee, where after the first 2 or 3 episodes that gets completely forgotten. And it's such a shame, because you had the captain goes to find Tom Paris, who's in a penal colony serving time, but she wants him because he's a good pilot and he knows this area of space that they're going to. So she literally breaks him out of prison, or not breaks him out, or was it a pardon or something like that. And you have this lovely setup where you could have conflict. And Dean Moore left Voyager because the concept was they were so far away from home with very little resources. They weren't a deep space vessel. If the Enterprise from the Next Generation had the same thing happen to them, you wouldn't feel the threat wouldn't be there, would it? The ship's so big. You're going to feel that threat and that anxiety for them. And Ronald D. Moore left Voyager because he wanted to take Voyager in a place where Battlestar Galactica originally went in 78, and the reimagining eventually would go.
Do you still think that on the later seasons? Because they did try and bring in some continuity between the episodes, didn't they?
Yeah, they did have the plot threads through, and then you had the Borg reintroduced, and they had so much opportunity to do amazing things with Voyager. But again, I think Paramount Committee was just like, let's just play it safe. People want to tune in for safe television.
Andrew, what's your thoughts on Star Trek Voyager?
Oh goodness, lots of thoughts on Star Trek Voyager. It is so. I mean, in terms of my Star Trek background, I think I started watching with the Next Generation, and then for some reason, I don't know why, and it may be to do with what you were saying about it just not being widely known. Like, you didn't see advertisements for Star Trek series really very much, and so
not in the UK,
no. So I missed Deep Space Nine, and I didn't actually watch it until its final season. So I've only ever, and I don't think I've rectified that ever. So I've only, apart from a few episodes here and there, like is it Trouble with Tribbles?
Yes. Yeah, that was the 30th anniversary episode.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah,
even to today it holds up.
Yeah. So I've watched a few episodes here and there, but the last season I watched of Deep Space Nine all the way through, and I really liked it, really enjoyed it. But Voyager I watched from the get-go, and when Voyager came out, I mean, you would think one of the first things I remember seeing was the ship. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, that is...
It's just a gorgeous looking model. That miniature that they built, can't remember who built the miniatures, but Michael Acuda did some uncredited graphics work on it, which is a name that everyone should recognise in Star Trek fan, but that miniature of that ship is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's the best Star Trek ship.
It's just, I think it helps, because it's smaller, I think the scale works better for a smaller ship because it's more believable and relatable than this massive, humongous, like, thing that is the Enterprise D, that someone that did the math as to the interior volume of that thing, and guys, it is stupidly humongous. It doesn't make any logical physical sense. But when Voyager came out, like you said, Andrew, it was just the ship's just this gorgeous little thing, and it's got this love. You know, it's going to sound really nerdy, but it's just got these lovely lines to it, and Rick Sternbach, who designed it, it's just glorious. It's just
I mean, the only other ships up there with it are the Enterprise E, because I love the redesign of the Enterprise. And weirdly, and I don't know why I like this, but it always struck me as like a weirdly awesome ship design. And I can't remember the name of the ship, but it's either a mirror episode.
Try me, Jason. Andrew, sorry.
So it's I don't think I can't remember. It's a Next Generation episode, and I think it's a Mirror Universe episode, I believe, where Crusher has her own ship. And it's like that's All Good Things. That's the finale. Is it the one that it's like almost a sphere?
It's the USS Pasteur. Beverly Crusher's medical ship.
That's it. Does it have a sphere? You know how the Enterprise has like a disc. Does the Pasteur have a sphere on the front?
It's a sphere. Yeah.
And I was always struck by that because it was so different from any of the other ship designs. I was like, that's weird. That's incredible.
Yeah, that was. I'm not that much of a nerd. I'm not good at remembering registry numbers, guys. Come on, like I know the main ones, but yeah, that was the alternate future that Q presented to Picard.
But I mean, Voyager definitely is the best ship. Like really cool. Like you said, because it was so small, you felt like you knew everywhere on the ship as well. So not just the outside of the ship was great, but also. You felt like, you knew the dining hall, because usually in Star Trek it's a really generic place, but because of Neelix it became this kind of hub of its own with his little, his cooking bit, and everybody used to just come in and marvel at the weird and wonderful alien things he was cooking, which was always fun.
Yeah.
And, even the sick bay became its own thing because of the Doctor and the fact that he, until later seasons couldn't leave. He was always there.
Yeah,
so
that's, again, one thing that I completely forgot to bring up was that the holographic Doctor, the chief surgeon, is killed in the first 20 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
We got Star Trek's first holographic Doctor. How awesome is that? Literally, like, an emergency medical hologram, and he has to be on almost all of the time.
Yeah.
To help people, because there's minimal medical staff, because they didn't plan on being shot across the galaxy. They were just on one small little skirmish.
Yeah, exactly.
And they weren't prepared for it, and seeing fresh cooking as well, it's just a great idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, if the EHO is not your favourite Voyager captain character, then you can just go home now.
Yeah, I love Robert Picardo in that role. That's just perfect.
Yeah, like you said, perfect casting throughout for the most part. I mean, there's one character. Well, no, there's two characters that I'm not so keen on. One's not a major character, but by and large they were all cast so great. And the whole point, like you talk about the Doctor and the fact he suddenly had to be on all the time, and then they kind of like programmed him so that he would have more empathy and all, because obviously he didn't really care. He just wanted to be turned off. He's like, so they programmed him to be better, and then he ended up like progressing, becoming human almost. They gave him the ability to leave the ship, leave the all this kind of stuff, and he became his own character. And almost, I think the whole point of Voyager is that they were all on this journey of discovery of themselves, because everybody grows as a character. Like you get 7 of 9 in the later series, who grows from being severed from the collective to becoming more human. You get Kez, who doesn't know who she is, and then she works out that she's she becomes this enlightened being. You get Paris, who goes from being somebody who was in prison, like you said, he was he did bad stuff, to becoming like this amazing stand-up Starfleet officer, and it's just an incredible journey for all
kind of pay their dues in a way. And
well, apart from Kim,
apart from the as yet still unpromoted Harry Kim,
poor Harry Kim,
still the ensign.
But yeah, it's just like fair enough. They didn't have the plot threads that they originally intended to have. The ship constantly be in a state of disrepair and the characters in conflict with each other. But like you said, the personal journey that they all go through of discovery and acceptance is fantastic. And
they didn't need to be in conflict with each other all the time, though, because B'Elanna was in conflict with all of them at all times. So
Yeah, but then they write that down to her, like, you know, part Klingon. So,
Yeah.
Which, that's the thing, when you look at it on paper, the character development of Voyager is actually, it's kind of very, very slow, and you don't get that payoff until, like, the later 2 or 3 seasons. So it takes a while for it to get going, like, on a character level.
Standard Star Trek, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know, the first 2 series were always going to be a bit slow and not as good as the later ones because they were putting all those seeds into the show.
Yeah.
Voyager, it's just comfort to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Even the really really crap episodes, like there are a few of them.
Yeah.
Oh God, I think the one where was it Janeway and Paris turn into a lizard?
Oh no, that's
Is that Queen Arachnia, or is that the one?
That's Threshold. That was where it's just ridiculous.
That's probably a good thing, Andrew. It's probably a good thing.
It's where Tom Paris theorises that you can break the warp 10 barrier and achieve transwarp.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and
he starts turning into a salamander, and it's just like, what the hell is going on here? This makes no sense at all. And then he's got Janeway on a shuttle with him, and she turns into salamander. And at the end,
they had sex,
they find them,
they?
and there's these 2 salamanders, basically men in latex costumes, just like moving around dodgily, and they're little baby salamanders.
Yeah.
And the classic reset button is like really cringe. It's just like, what the hell? And then next scene, they're both sitting in sick bay. They get in their little injections. Everything's fine. They're all back to normal. We conveniently reversed that thing that you did, Tom. Oh God, you go back to your duties now. And they left the babies wherever they were. No one knows what happens to Janeway and Paris's salamander weird mutant baby things.
I mean, there's some like mental scarring going on there somewhere.
Oh my God.
And they just walk away.
It's just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I must have blocked this. I do not remember this episode, but they did have a lot of crazy episodes that either didn't make sense or just were hilarious. But that was part of the charm of Voyager, I thought, is that they got the freedom to explore really stupid things, but sometimes they weren't. So many holodeck episodes, because they had to rely on that a lot, because they're in the middle of nowhere, and obviously there's lots of space between them and wherever they're going, and they have to rely on that. And that was great. They come up with some amazing episodes, like the whole World War II thing they came up with. What was the name of the hunter species again? I've forgotten what they were called.
Oh.
That was the... oh my God.
Was it H?
Herosian,
that's it.
Herosians, that's it. Something
and
like that,
they come back and like they put them onto a planet and basically hunt these species for sport. And it's just like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell?
But it was like the whole, like, because at first you had no idea what was going on, because it was just like they were all in World War II times and acting like they weren't the characters they were, and we're like, okay. And they did that quite a lot. Like, they did that a lot, and it was actually really, really cool to see. And then they experimented with stuff like they had, what was it, Species 8472, which was like a weird thing, because I hadn't really seen that in Star Trek before, where it was something completely outside of the galaxy that came in, and the fact they got to use the Borg, which, you know, I was like, I love the Borg. The Borg was it's the greatest Star Trek enemy in my books. You know, First Contact is probably my favourite Star Trek film, and because the Borg are in it and the Borg Queen, and they utilised them so well, and they got, you know, I say they utilised them so well. You had Icheb, poor Icheb. If you've watched Picard, you know about poor Icheb.
Poor man.
Poor Icheb. But yeah, you know, and the fact 7 of 9 was a Borg, and they made a character who used to be a Borg, when up until this point, apart from Locutus, a Borg, of course, nobody really ever left the collective. You know, you'd not really seen that, not to the degree where they're a main character on a Star Trek show, and you got to see her evolve and grow. And 7 of 9 is a fantastic character, even better because she replaced Kez, who was one of the worst characters.
Again, just didn't work at all.
No.
And Jerry Warren, let me just say this, like, coming from someone, I think she was an ex-model who went into acting, she's amazing.
She is. She's fantastic.
Absolutely
very amazing.
Amazing. It's a shame about the sexist catsuit they put her in, but...
Yeah.
My teenage brain wasn't thinking that.
No, exactly. That's what it was for. And She's just amazing. She knocks it out of the park.
She was the highlight of Picard for me. Like I mean, you know, we're not here to talk about Picard. I didn't like Picard. I don't like any of the new Star Trek shows. They don't feel like Star Trek to me at all. But she was the highlight of that. Like when they told me that they were bringing back 7 of 9, more so than Picard, I was like, hell yeah, 7 of 9 coming back, yeah.
Like, I don't agree with some of the stuff they did in Picard. Yes, Patrick Stewart wanted to do it. It's like a passion project for him. But it's strange. I've tried watching Picard. It's alright. It could be done so much better.
Yeah, it's not for me. I mean, I would always go back to, like you said, I'd always go back to Voyager because it's just, it is comfort. It is like, it's nice to watch. You know, like Picard, everybody swears. They have a random Vulcan Federation chief wearing sunglasses for no reason. Like, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Voyager makes sense within the stuff that they'd made, and it's silly, and you know, but it has great character. Like Janeway is hands down the best captain. I don't care if you're a Picard fan. Janeway is amazing. Yeah. But again, it all comes down to, I think, everything, doesn't it? Like performance, not so much writing, but the way that character's embodied and carried and interpreted by that actor is stunning. Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you. She's one of the best. She does it so well, and you know, you were saying earlier how a lot of the characters take quite a while to kind of come into their own. But I think Janeway's the one character who was there from the beginning, and you kind of got her and understood who she was, and that was important because she kind of anchors the show. But she's great. I mean, you know, and she's got amazing, famous one-liners like "There's coffee in that nebula," which is like the best. Like I at one point I tried to start a Voyager podcast with my friend Mike from the Dreamcast Junkyard, which was called "There's a Podcast in That Nebula." We made one episode, and we were going to like watch all of Voyager and then like do a breakdown of each episode. But I have so little time that we never got to do it. Apart from one episode.
That's the thing.
Quick question before we have to move on. And that, which kind of Janeway did you prefer? Did you prefer the caretaker, strict, kind of rude-ish kind of Janeway, or did we like the more relaxed, hair down, bit more friendly kind of Janeway that we got?
What you mean,
the series?
The coffee drinking, the coffee version of version of Janeway, or the Tuvix executing version of Janeway?
Yeah, we had the hair up in a bun Janeway at the beginning, didn't we? And
I love that, the hair up in the bun. But when the ship had gone, like, it had taken a bit of a battering, there'd be a few strands of hair that had come out the bun, so you knew that she was slightly dishevelled. But yeah, no, short hair Janeway when she had the short bob. That's the best Janeway. I think.
Good answer. Excellent. Voyager is notable for being the most gender-balanced Star Trek series with the first female lead character and strong female supporting characters, with a review of the different series giving Voyager the highest Bechdel test rating. I don't know what that is, but
women talking to other women about things other than
Yes.
So there you go.
Oh, okay. Thanks, mate.
I've contributed now, saying
well done,
I know
mate.
my Star Trek.
Well, someone's well read over there.
In an article about Voyager, Ian Gray wrote, "It was a rare, heavy hardware science fiction fantasy not built around a strong man, and more audaciously, it didn't seem to trouble itself over how fans would receive this. On Voyager, female authority was assumed and unquestioned. Women conveyed sexual power without shame and anger without guilt, even more so than Buffy, which debuted 2 years later. It was the most feminist show in American TV history."
Yeah, I'd give click to that. That's totally true and amazing. Yeah.
About her years on Voyager, Kate Mulgrew said, "The best thing was simply the privilege and the challenge of being able to take a shot at the first female captain, transcending stereotypes that I was very familiar with. I was able to do that in front of millions of viewers. That was a remarkable experience, and it continues to resonate." Star Trek Voyager, banging episode, TV show, and it's definitely one that you should check out if you haven't done so. Thank you very much, Chris, for bringing that to the show. Let's move on to the next one then. And Andrew, please, why don't we have a chat about your TV show of 1995?
Oh, okay. I love TV. I've watched a lot of TV. I've watched a lot of TV shows multiple times. I'm pretty sure this TV show I've watched the most, as in I've rewatched it multiple times, and that is the TV show, the sitcom Friends.
Gentlemen, pick your category.
Fears and pet peeves.
What is Monica's biggest pet peeve?
Animals dressed as humans.
That's correct. Ladies?
Same category.
According to Chandler, what phenomenon scares the bejesus out of him?
Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance.
That is correct.
The Irish jig guy? His legs flail about as if independent from his body.
Gentlemen, your pick.
It's all relative.
Monica and I had a grandmother who died. You both went to her funeral. Name that grandmother.
Nana? She has a real name.
Althea!
Althea! What are you doing? I took a shot. You're shooting with Althea?
Althea is correct.
Nice shooting!
We'll take literature.
Every week, the TV guide comes to Chandler and Joey's apartment. What name appears on the address label?
Oh, Chandler gets it. It's Chandler Bing. No.
I'm afraid the TV guide comes to Chanandler Bong.
I knew that. Rachel, use your head.
Actually, it's Miss Chenandler Bond.
I know it gets a little bit more of a bad rep these days because obviously as anything from the 90s, some aspects of it maybe haven't aged quite as well as others. So, you know, there's always going to be some things that people are not so keen on nowadays. But for its time, and even still now, it is just such a... and we talked about the cast of Voyager being well cast. The cast of Friends was incredibly well cast. The amazing characters. It was one of those shows that was the right show at the right time for the people in that time. You know, there's some shows that were ahead of their time. There are some shows that kind of looked to the past a bit too much. And Friends was very much, you know, it was 90s New York, young single people, kind of sharing the experience of being adults together, you know, in a funny way. And with me, and obviously with a huge amount of people, it was just an incredibly done show. I feel like I explaining it and what it was is pointless because I'm sure every single person in the entire universe has at least heard of Friends if they haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, you know, where were you for the entire 90s? You know, it was everywhere. It was on every channel. Like,
it was everywhere, wasn't it?
It was crazy. It was, you know, but I remember watching it. I don't know if I picked it up from the first season. It might have been a bit later, and then I went back and watched the first season. But I remember I watched everything. I would tune in to watch it. I think it was on Channel 4 that they used to air it here.
Yeah.
And I would watch it religiously. And then when it had finished airing, I would watch the repeats. And then it came out on DVD, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm buying the DVD. So I bought the entire 1 to 10 DVD box set, and I believe I bought this at university with my student loan.
Wow. That's a pricey DVD box set as well.
It was pricey. It was honestly it was hugely expensive at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, it's student loan, it's free money, it's fine. So I bought this, and in my student house at university, we must have watched the entirety of that box set at least 3 times, if not 4. We literally just put on a disc when we got home from university, or if we were bored, or if it was a weekend, and we'd just watch it through. Unfortunately, that box set has long gone. I lent half of it to a friend and never got it back, so I just got rid of the other half because it seemed pointless having half of a box set. But yeah, I've watched it so much, and it's like Voyager being a comfort. Friends is always like a comfort because you can put any episode on and just know that you can sit there and maybe you won't laugh out loud at it or anything, but you are in familiar company with people that you've kind of grown up knowing because, you know, I grew up with the characters of Ross, Rachel, Phoebe, Monica, Chandler, Jerry. You know, they were people that I knew well because I watched them for 10 years and then continued to watch them a lot. So going back now, even if I catch an episode that's on repeat on the television, or I think I've got the box set on iTunes now, so if I fancy just like chilling out for an hour, I'll put a couple of episodes on. You know, it's just one of those shows that, it's just great. You can just watch it under any circumstance and be entertained at the very least, and kill some time. It's weird. It's but it's also a great show. It's well put together, well cast, funny. There's just so much to say about it, but it's just an incredible show that I don't think has ever been matched in those regards. The only show that comes close to it in my eyes is Will and Grace in terms of sitcoms, but Friends just pegs it for being just so good.
Do you think some of its success is down to the stories and the jokes that they wrote and performed? Because I feel like when I go back and watch it, excuse me, it doesn't get boring. Is that a good way? Like you can watch some shows and roll your eyes, oh, it's this episode or it's that episode and this, that and the other. But I always felt like with Friends, no matter what episode it was still interesting, even though I'd seen it 10 times.
Exactly. That's it's like even if like I got to the point with some of them, I can't do this anymore, but I could literally mouth the words to the episode as I was watching it because I knew it that well. But like I say, it just wasn't boring. And I think it is down to the fact that the performances were great. It was just so well written, and everybody bounced off each other so well. All the characters, there wasn't a dud character at all, and anybody they brought in was, it was always interesting. And it's just one of those, like I said, you can just put on an episode and be entertained. And I don't know, I don't think I've ever met anybody who hates Friends. I've met people who are a bit ambivalent towards it, and maybe they can watch it but they don't really care. But I just think even my grandma used to watch it on E4, and she was like, oh yeah, I watched Friends the other day, and she was in her 60s and she was still enjoying it because it's just one of those shows that it almost transcends the age barrier and different people's backgrounds and stuff, because people can understand what it's like to be a young person finding your way in the world, finding love, hanging out with your friends. You might not be exactly the same people as the main characters, but you can get where they're coming from. You can understand the trials and tribulations that they have, and you can appreciate the comedy that that they find in the stuff that they do on a day-to-day basis. So
I think like when you talked about the characters, like I think for a comedy show as well, that they wrote those characters so well. They gave each one such different characteristics and backstories that I think that's one of the biggest parts of its success was having those parts in the characters, and it kept it fresh, because you had Ross, who was into dinosaurs, and you had Joey that was into acting, and Monica, who was a chef, and they had all these different. They just wrote the personalities as well of these characters so differently, but so well that they gelled so nicely on the show. It was just the complete chemistry of it was just perfect, lightning in a bottle.
It was. You also had the whole thing where people would you decide which character you are. It's a bit like Sex and the City in that regard, where people go, oh, like I'm a Ross, I'm obviously a Ross. You just you kind of think, oh, I'm like that character. So in school, everybody like, oh yeah, you're the Phoebe, or you're the Monica, because even though they had very defined character traits, you could see something of a lot of people that you knew in the characters, in one of the characters. Yeah. So there was a lot of that, but they did really well. Like they all gelled well, and the way they introduced the characters to begin with was quite inspired as well, because you had this close-knit group of friends in, was it Ross, Monica, Phoebe, Joey and Chandler, and then Rachel, who Ross and Monica used to know, suddenly comes back into the picture. Nobody else knows who Rachel is. No. And they suddenly have to get to know her, and by proxy you're getting to know Rachel, and you're also getting to know all of the other characters and understanding their relationships to each other. So it was a really good start to the series that you got thrown, just as Rachel gets thrown into this group of friends, you also get thrown in, and you kind of get to know them all and their eccentricities very quickly. And I think that was a really inspired way to start it.
I think when I do think of Friends and I think about the small negatives of the show, I think one of the biggest things that always comes to my mind is like they all had like relationships between each other mostly, you know, and this that, and the other. And what was your feelings on like the whole Rachel Joey thing?
And you grasped that as soon as you said that. That's the hot button topic for Friends, isn't it? It's like, why did they get Joey and Rachel together? And I'm like, and I know that the actors weren't keen on it either. They didn't like the idea of it, but they kind of went along with it. And in the end, they went, no, we have to stop this. This isn't good. And a lot of people didn't like it because obviously people just thought, oh, Ross and Rachel are meant to be together, so what's going on here? And it did feel to a degree like they were reaching at the end there to kind of make some drama or something.
It's like, okay, I can get with Monica and Chandler, they get together and this, that and the other. Okay, I could get that. Ross and Rachel already had history. Okay, fair enough. But then they just felt like, I just felt the Joey and Rachel thing. I don't know. It just didn't feel right. I don't know. It was just a bit weird. But
I didn't hate it. Like, a lot of people hated it, like really hated it, and I was like, I don't hate it. Like, it's fine. I kind of get it. I'm glad that it didn't continue, but I didn't hate that whole arc. But you know, it just felt like they did it right with Ross and Rachel. Yeah, like you said, they had history. They could have ended it differently, you know, but it felt right that they ended it like they did with Ross and Rachel. That was fine. Monica and Chandler felt very natural, and then it was only right for Phoebe to have somebody that was outside the group because she was so quirky. It just didn't work for her to be with Joey or somebody like that. It just wasn't going to work. And then Joey is just the playboy, isn't he? So it didn't feel right for him to settle down with somebody, and then he didn't. So they played it right in the end, but getting there, there was a few blips, and the Joey and Rachel thing was a bit of a blip, but it did get us the episode where Ross is fine. And I quite like that episode. So,
yeah, it's a good one. So, what was your favourite episode? Do you think? I mean, that's quite a hard question to ask, I guess. But like, if you can, when you think about Friends, like for me, obviously the special when they went to London, jumped out at me straight away. That whole special 1 or 2 episodes was always, I'm going to say, is one of my favourites.
Yeah, it was good. So the last few seasons were fine, and there's some great episodes in there, but I would never say it was any of those. Like the first few, it's like they're probably the 2 that stick out in my mind is, and I can't remember the titles unfortunately, but there's the one where Ross has a speech to give, and he's trying to get everybody together to get ready, and Chandler and Joey have a fight over this chair, and end up like Joey puts all of Chandler's clothes on and all that kind of stuff. It's just a really, you know, it's all set in that apartment. The whole episode, they don't go anywhere else. It's all set in Monica's apartment. Really good, really funny. There's the episode where they do the quiz to win Monica's apartment.
Oh, okay.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
That's a great episode as well. Oh, there's so many. Like, there's a few that keep coming to mind, but those 2 probably are probably up there as the best for me. They're just really just hilarious episodes that you know, they're really simple, but they work really well.
I think they're the one that's just come to my head. I think it was another special where they went to Vegas, and then Joey found his hand twin. That's it, yeah. And it just would not let it go. He just kept going back to that dude, and that dude was just like, just leave me the F alone, please, just go away. And Joey was just all over him. Just quality stuff.
So funny. Yeah. That was good. There's so many like cameos from famous people in that as well, and a lot of shows don't do it very well. But you had people like Julia Roberts, who was incredible in the episode she was in. It was very early on, I think she was in it. She played like one of Chandler's old school girlfriends or something, or somebody that he rejected as a kid, and she was great. And then there was Robin Williams, Bruce Willis, so many cool people in
through the episode. So.
And of course, Tom Selleck himself, you know.
Exactly,
The Ledge was quite a recurring character for quite a while, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and Dustin Hoffman as well.
Yeah, literally any Hollywood A-lister you could think.
Yeah. You two.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
Was he? I can't remember.
Yeah, he was in the same one as Julia Roberts.
Yeah, Outbreak 2. They were filming that.
That's it.
The fictional Outbreak 2. And I'm still amazed at how Robin Williams and Billy Crystal improvised that entire scene on that sofa.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them knew what either one was going to do, and they both ran with it.
Yeah,
and
so good.
The actors had no idea how they were going to interact with them on set. It just literally so spontaneous. And you can actually, I think some of the actors are actually quite shocked, and they're just like stunned because they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Friends was always on in our house. I think my mum started watching it because it was about 2 years after my dad left us, so it was kind of a comfort thing. And I remember my mum saying, "Oh, you kids should watch this. It's quite funny. It's great." And yeah, we kind of Andrew, we kind of grew up with it always in the house. It was always on. My mum really liked it, so it was naturally always on. And as I got older, you sort of dip out of it when you start to go to college and school and you start to work. And but yeah, it was always on. I always have fond memories of it. Again, it's a comfort thing. I never went out of my way to watch it. Yes, some of it's very dated now, but it's always a comfort to me, along with sitcoms like Frasier as well, because that was on too on Friday night on Channel 4 before you were old enough to go out on your own. You know what I mean? It was one of those things that it was always there. And yeah, I've nothing bad to say about Friends really at all. Just it was one of those things that we grew up with, just like yourself. And and we recently lost. Was it James Michael Tyler? Didn't we?
Yeah, Gunther.
Last
That's
month.
right.
Yeah. That's sad.
It was sad. Yeah,
it's very
much
sad.
so.
Sorry.
I was just going to ask Rich. He's been quite quiet with this one as well. If he had any.
Kind of
Friends or
similar-ish to Chris. It's not something I sought out. It was kind of like just kind of very in the middle for me. It was something my sister was kind of into, and I think I was probably around the age at the time that you were kind of like seeking out things to be avidly into. So things would come up on TV. I mean, this is at the time where, TV was giving you things like the X-Files, and I was looking for something else to be like, oh, what can I be into next? What can I get videos of or book of or something? And I did watch it with my sister, and I was kind of quasi into it. I remember going to the Warner Brothers store in Lakeside and picking up a Friends mug. I just random memory. I was just trying to be into the craze at the time because everyone was obsessed about getting the Rachel cut, and it was just like massive. And I just kind of found myself kind of dipping my toe into being part of the craze, but I never really was massively into it. Had a massive Jennifer Aniston crush, but
of course,
who doesn't?
But yeah, I liked it. I think at the time I wasn't, and probably I continue not to be massively into your typical like 3-camera sitcom. Never been my thing. But I did like Friends at the time. It's not something I watch now, and it is always on television, at least somewhere in the world, at any given time. But yeah, fondish memories. I kind of found myself out of curiosity watching some of the reunion thing, and then James called and showed up, so I turned off.
Guys,
but
everywhere.
what I saw that was like, oh, this is nice. This is quite touching. When they went into the apartment and it was all redone, it looked spot on. And I think it was Matthew Perry was a bit emotional. I think he was a bit choked up. Yeah, which was quite sweet. I remember that. That was kind of a bit of an endearing memory from that. But
it was nice.
It's a really weird one, Friends. It's really, I can't quite say where I sit with it.
Sorry, Andrew.
So I was going to say, like I said before, you either love it or you kind of like it. Like nobody hates it. It's like you either love it or like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Very
absolutely.
true.
Things it's unfair to compare sitcoms, but when you sort of line them all up like a sort of regiment inspection, you've got Frasier, which is this. Yes, it's tropey and it's cringy sometimes, but that show was phenomenally written and acted, and I stand by my guns. It's just amazing show to watch. It just hits every beat, and I think because of the older generation of the cast, it doesn't feel as what's the word? Not cringy, but I think it works better because you see them as older than you. I don't know why. I think it's. I'm trying to label it, and it's trying. And I always, for some reason, I don't know why, compare Friends to The Big Bang Theory. I can't stand. I cannot stand The Big Bang Theory. I tried watching it, and I'm like, I can see where they're going with it. Yes, some of the jokes are funny, but it ended up becoming a cheap, stab in the gut to fandom and nerd culture itself, rather than an actual homage. It landed really badly with that kind of culture, but everyone seems to love it, and I stand there sometimes not watching it, and I'm going like, I don't know why this is a thing.
That's one of the things that kind of really hit me. I remember growing up and watching, just Saved by the Bells and that kind of stuff, and with friends as well. My dad was always very vocal about your kind of younger or teenage American
exactly
sitcoms.
What I was getting to.
He used to get irate about it. He always called it crass and just, it's annoying and turn it off. And then years later, I knew my dad was fully retired when he said to me watch Big Bang Theory. I really like that show.
Yeah.
I was like, if you from 25 years ago had heard this, you'd be furious. Yeah. I even got him one Christmas, I even got him a Bazinga mug, and my soul died. It's what he wanted.
And that's where my mind comparison works, because it's a long running, and I kind of see it as kind of like this generation's Friends phenomenon.
Yeah.
And we're now the age our parents were in the 90s when we were all watching Friends and stuff like that. So it's weird because The Big Bang Theory has never landed with me, and I've tried. My friends love it, my family love it, and I'm sitting there. I just don't get it.
Are you a fan of The Big Bang Theory, Andrew?
Do you know what? I don't mind it. I think I had nothing to do once. I can't remember what was going on in my life, but I think I was just like, I want to watch something funny. What have I not seen that's funny? And I was like, I've never seen The Big Bang Theory. It's never really appealed to me. And I put it on, and I think I've watched about 8 seasons of it now. I've not finished it. I know it's finished now. I've not finished it, but I don't mind it. It hasn't grabbed me in the same way Friends has, but I just to have something on in the background, something to occupy your time. It's fine, but Friends was more than that. It's now kind of something to occupy my time because I've seen it so much. It's it's lost its original charm, but it's still great to watch. I think the only sitcom now that I can watch to properly laugh and really enjoy is Will and Grace, because that show is funny all the time and has never lost its laughs for me. Friends can raise a few chuckles here and there at some of the good jokes, and it'll put a smile on my face the majority of the time. Will and Grace will literally sometimes bring me to tears with how funny it is. So, But Big Bang Theory, it's okay. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on How I Met Your Mother, because I've never seen it, but that seems like a bad sitcom.
Same. Never seen it.
I've seen one or two, when you sort of you put the TV on when you come home, or you're around someone's house and it's on E4 or something, but I've never gone I've never gone out of my way to watch these shows. Mm-hmm. Now, Will and Grace, we used to watch, again, it was early 2000s. Again, it was, my mum would watch, Channel 4 on a Friday night.
Friday nights were loaded, seriously.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and Will and Grace was one of the scheduled shows, the US imports. And
BBC Two and Channel 4 were killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
And I just remember being quite impressed with Will and Grace, because it's all about the chemistry.
Yeah.
It's all about the actors you find that bounce off of each other, which is why so many of these lightning in a bottle projects work, such as Ghostbusters worked, such as Cheers worked in the 80s, and why Friends worked in the 90s is because of the chemistry with all the actors. If your casting is wrong, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now, you may like The Big Bang Theory, but if you watch it enough, there's not a lot of chemistry going on between a lot of the cast.
Yeah, that's true.
They're just there, delivering their lines, waiting for the joke. Mm-hmm. There's no spark. the only spark you get is from Jim Parsons.
Mm.
And that's from sheer determination on his part to craft this character. All the rest, it's just, I don't know, and there's just something missing from the Big Bang Theory that you can't put your finger on. Like Malcolm, look at what Malcolm in the Middle did for family sitcoms in 20 years ago. That cast was perfect. That all the people cast as Malcolm's family just were. It was like an electrical storm going on.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect on so many levels. And then you come from watching that, and then you watch Big Bang Theory, and you can see what's lacking. There's somewhere in there. And again to compare, like when you watch that 70s show, I have a weird love for that 70s show, but it's all about the cast you have and how well they get on and connect with each other that make the show work. Friends is a perfect example. And also Rich's next choice is a perfect example of how to do it correctly.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, speaking of Rich's pick, we better get on to that one because...
I've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, all right.
5 minutes.
Go.
Well, although the producers thought of Friends as only a TV show, psychologists investigated the cultural impact of Friends during the series' run. Aniston's hairstyle was nicknamed the Rachel and copied around the world. Joey's catchphrase, "How you doing?" became a popular part of Western English slang, often used as a pick-up line or when greeting friends. The series also influenced the English language, according to a study by the University of Toronto that found that the characters use the emphasised word so to modify adjectives more often than any other intensifier. Although the preference had already made its way into the American vernacular, usage on the series may have accelerated the change. Chandler's habit of ending a sentence unfinished for sarcasm also influenced viewers' speech. Interesting.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, again, a lot of long words in that small amount of space, and
Did well.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
It's all right. I'm not patronising whatsoever.
No, not at all, mate. Well, let's get on to our last TV show, Rich. And what was your TV show of 1995?
Well, I mean, mine is... it's probably the most critically and culturally successful Irish show in history. It is, of course, Mrs. Brown's Boys. No, sorry, it is Father Ted.
I read a bit of one of them once. God, I couldn't finish it. The language, unbelievable.
It's a bit gritty, but that's the modern world, Mrs. Doyle.
It was a bit much for me, Father. Feck this and feck that.
Yes, Mrs. Doyle.
You big bastard. Oh, dreadful language. You big hairy arse. You big fecker. Fierce stuff. And of course, the F word, Father. The bad F word. Worse than feck. You know the one I mean?
Yes, I do, Mrs. Doyle.
F you. F your effing wife. Oh, I don't know why they have to use language like that. I stick this effing pitchfork up your hole. Oh, that was another one. Oh, yes.
I see what you mean, Mrs. Doyle.
Bastard this and bastard that. You can't move for the bastards in her novels. It's wall-to-wall bastards.
Is it, Mrs. Doyle?
You bastard,
Anyway.
you fecker, you bollocks. Get your bollocks out of my face. That was terrible, Father.
But yeah, it is, of course, Father Ted, which was kind of a phenomenon out of nowhere, really. Many people still consider it to be one of the best sitcoms ever. It kind of led to a lot of successful careers as well. So Father Ted was about 3 Catholic priests, and they'll be relegated to what is essentially the worst parish on Craggy Island. And it kind of chronicled their misadventures. It was a show that was created by Arthur Matthews, and only Arthur Matthews. No one else created this show whatsoever. Just him on his own. Less said the better about that. I could go off on a Twitter rant, but I won't. I can name some random anime producer or something. I don't know, but anyone but Glinner.
I'm just sitting there just laughing because I know exactly what you're doing.
And yeah, it's a fantastic show. I mean, for the uninitiated, you're probably just going to think it's a show that is kind of taking the piss out of religion, but it was a show that never actually put religion at the butt of the jokes. It was just about men who had the job title of being priests, and it never was actually anything to do with what they did in their day. It was pretty much anything but. I mean, the only time I think that the show actually touched upon what they did in their day was the episode Speed 3, where they perform a mass, because they actually perform a mass to help Father Dougal, who's trapped on a milk float with a bomb on it. That was laid by Pat Mustard, rest in peace. I can't even talk about the show with a straight face. I'm grinning like ear to ear right now. It's just mad. It's absolutely mad. I feel like I don't know how I first stumbled across this. It was one night, Channel 4, and I decided to tape the episode, the one with the what was it now? It was the Beast on Craggy Island with the sheep.
Sorry.
Oh God! And I was like, okay, I'm watching this forever. It was like a Saturday morning. I was watching on tape, and just when they'd throw to like the smash cuts of when Ted is basically spewing off all the evidence, kind of Scooby-Doo style, how he's kind of rumbled whoever it was that was scheming and what they were trying to do to scare the sheep. And every time it would throw to a cue, it just had that sound. And I just lost it. I lost it. And there was always that one guy in the audience that just said fucking hell to every cue, every clue that Ted would just deliver. Like he was just some kind of like Inspector Poirot. My brain at the time, I couldn't process what I was watching, and I loved it. It was the first time I ever heard the word feck, and it was like, I could say fucker with my parents now. Fantastic. Cast of characters were mad. I mean, other than, obviously, you had the regulars, like Dougal, who's amazing, Mrs. Doyle, the really very, very neurotic tea lady, Father Jack, rest in peace. It just, you had other characters such as... obviously, the absolutely terrifying spectre of Bishop Brennan. Father Noel, obviously played amazingly by Graham Norton in the best Riverdance performance of all time.
That's the one in the caravan
he just does the he just does the Riverdance like the 500-yard stare looking forward, and he just tips the caravan over.
And you just see this caravan go over, and it's just like, doesn't he do it on the table in the caravan as well?
Yeah. And
you're just like, how this doesn't physically work?
And we decided to do a screaming contest in the caves as well. That's the famous Richard Wilson One Foot in the Grave crossover.
Yeah.
How you doing? You again! Just starts hitting him with his cap. And Dougal's like, oh, do you like it, Ted? It's like, no, Dougal. Oh, God. Damn it, I love the show so much. I need to watch it. It's something, if it comes on TV, like what Andrew said about Friends, it's comfort to me. I'll always watch it. Yep. Like Christmas time, I guarantee that the Christmas one will be on, and I'll watch it. It's just a wonderfully insane show. It is very, very Irish. Craggy Island is a character in itself as well. I mean, you've got a weird bunch of characters other than Bishop Brennan. You've got Tom, who's like the resident thug in the I Shot JR shirt with an eyebrow. Hello, father. I had just had
a flashback of that episode when someone phones Ted. I'm a bit lost, Ted. Am I on the right island? Is there a man sitting on a brick on a stone wall with an I Shot JR t-shirt? And it stuck with me because it just cuts to this manic looking man with one eyebrow just staring this guy down.
There's so many episodes, man. When Ted gets accused of being racist, he's like, "Oh, father, I hear you're racist now, father." What's that all about? I was just, oh my God. I shouldn't be doing the Irish accent. I feel like this is probably offensive to someone, I don't know, but I'm just Oh, this show's mad.
My mum's family are all Irish, so
that's right. Cool.
I've heard some of the slangs and effects many years before. And yeah, Father Ted, oh my god.
It's wonderful. I mean, was that 2 series? I think it ran. You had Christmas special, 2 Christmas specials. Oh, 3 series and 2 Christmas specials. That was it. And yeah, it's just an energy about it. I mean, I'm thinking now to the football game with Dougal watching the corner flags. And it's Arlo Hannon is just amazing at that. His facial expressions. It is like a masterclass in like physical comedy. He does so much with his eyes. And how Dougal just looks constantly on edge.
It's the blank stare.
Yeah, like he's confused, he's nervous, it's just... He doesn't need to say a thing.
The way the writers... There's one episode where I think Ted's talking to Dougal, and they encapsulate Dougal's character perfectly with like 1 or 2 lines, and it says, how did you become a priest, Dougal? And he's like, did you like apply in the back of a cornflakes box or something? Just basically implied me, just did it randomly, like for no reason.
I'm sure there's a gag as well when...
I can't remember what episode it was or the exact words, but it was along that kind of gist of it.
I swear there's like an episode as well. There's like a little gag in it when Dougal just pretty much like it's a throwaway bit of dialogue, but it's almost a bit where Dougal kind of just says like he doesn't even realise they're priests. He just doesn't know what they're there doing.
Yeah, he's just doing it.
It's just like such a moment where you're like, oh my god, you're questioning everything because he's so beyond clueless.
Yeah.
And it's throwaway. It's not part of an episode. It's not like a core gag. It's just...
But again, it's done... Idler Hannon obviously contributes quite a lot, but the character as well is presented as a kind of like a guy who's always been around this village. He started out as an altar boy and then just ended up falling into a trainee priesthood just because it was just there. So... But it's just the way this innocent naivety about him, where it just exists. He's not going to hurt anyone. He's just.
I just remember the image of him now when he did the funeral service, and it's like the hearse is on fire.
Oh my
he's
god!
Just screaming!
You let Dougal do a funeral, he goes absolutely mad.
So the hearse is on fire, seriously. It's like, how? It's just like, he was so many questions.
And everything. Oh.
And he's just doing that blank stare. It was commotion going on, he doesn't know what's happening. It's just one of
the many best clanger lines from Father Jack. It's just when they're at the county fair, and it's just this really... It's become a thing, like, I use it quite a lot if something's really shit, and you sort of turn around and say, well, you Phoenix Knights that one up, didn't you? Like, to be a really shitty kind of community project type thing. And that fair is awful, isn't it? Like, there's a guy, isn't a roundabout powered by a tractor chain or something? It's just a piece of wood on something.
Yeah.
And the bird's eye view thing, isn't it just a cherry picker? Just lifting people up. And it's the bit where I said, and interviewed now live on the news, Father Ted Crowley. And Ted's at home. And Dougal's just standing there, and all you hear Father Jack is like, how did that gobshite get on the television?
Still my favourite Jack line. Still my favourite Jack line is it's probably like kind of quasi-questionable.
It's not the brick, is it?
No. There's the episode when there's a bit when all the rabbits are in a house. And he's sitting in his chair. He just gets up and goes, "Hairy Japanese bastards," and just walks out the living room. And I was just like gobsmacked. I was like, that is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I actually bought my wife a brick one year anniversary. It's actually a nice ornamental brick from Etsy. It's like nicely treated and it's got "I love my brick" on it. We just put it in the garden. So we actually have got that. I bought it for it was actually an anniversary present for a brick. She loved it, so still got it. Oh my god, I love this show. I love this show. It's just it's been a little while since I've watched it, but there was a point I was watching it like pretty on the reg. It's fantastic. I mean, Song for Europe, I can recount all the lyrics to My Lovely Horse in my head. I want to shower you in sugar lumps. Take it to the horse dentist. It's just fantastic. It is a fantastic show. And yeah, deeply, deeply miss Dermot Morgan. I mean, I sometimes forget he died 24 hours after they finished filming the last Christmas special or last series.
And he didn't. I don't believe he even saw the show go the global phenomenon either, because I think we got it. I think was it a year or two after it was produced in Ireland, if I remember rightly.
Probably,
so it wasn't like an overnight success, and he didn't get to see the show blossom and become this massive hit. Just because I remember the newspapers was just says Father Ted's dead, and I was just like, well, what?
Yeah. And then Father Jack died the same day, exactly the same day, didn't he? Like
about 20 odd years later.
Yeah, which blows my mind, like absolutely blows my mind. But yeah, it still lives on. I mean, I know there is actually a football match, I think, that happens somewhere in Ireland. They basically, the winner gets the right to call itself Craggy Island. There's a place called Inishmore that hosts the Friends of Ted Festival. They've been hosting it since 2007, and they actually do a Lovely Girls contest. There's a Craggy Island World Cup and a Song for Europe competition they actually do as well. So they actually do a real event for fans, and they do all those little mini events within it, which I think's
that's mad,
really lovely. I mean, there actually is a Lovely Girls contest. So
it's just such a quotable, iconic slice of 90s television that just. It's when all the priests get together on Craggy Island. Was it on Craggy Island? They get together for a convention and they get lost in the department store. And it's the most self-aware moment where Ted turns around and says, "Don't think it's going to look a bit funny when half a dozen priests in a lingerie department in this store." It was sort of the most self-aware commentary of the priesthood I've ever witnessed. And I was just like, oh my God. They went there. They fucking went there and did that joke. And it lands so beautifully because in the context, they are half a dozen priests stuck in a lingerie department and they can't get out. But it's the most human of human things because we've all been stuck in a department like that and you can't find your way out. And you also can't find your respective other half because they've gone missing in the shot. It's just the most human reaction, but they just happen to be priests. It's mind-blowing. Oh, and kicking Bishop Brennan up the ass.
Good old, what is that? Hello, Len. It's like when he just,
whatever you do, don't call him Len.
You big bollocks. It's like,
morning, Len. And he does it all through the series. Every single episode.
It's the image of Brennan when he's running with his cape like Batman. He's like,
yeah, and they put like metal rods in his cape, and it just makes him look massive, like.
So good.
It's just got so many amazing bits. Ted, have you seen my record collection? Dougal, you have one record. It doesn't make it a collection. Isn't it like BBC sound effects or something?
That was the Beast of Craggy Island episode, when it's just like, oh God.
Christ.
I think of the strength of the episode, I actually got like BBC sound effects CDs from like the library because I was like, this sounds hilarious. Didn't use it to scare sheep, but I had fun with them nonetheless. I adore this show. It's so fantastic, so quotable, and it just has a very special place in my heart. And the fact, it sounds really weird saying it, but the fact we lost Dermot the way we did, it kind of gives the show this extra feeling of just this very, what's the word to put it? It's just this very contained, like very precious, like little diamond of a show where it existed within a very short space of time. And I don't know, it kind of makes it weirdly extra special, which maybe sounds weird and morbid, I don't know, but I don't know. I love it. I love it. So, thank you, Arthur Matthews. You are fantastic, and Graham Linehan, go fuck yourself.
And the other guy who will remain nameless.
I always said his name too late now. Just like
bleep it out.
Yeah,
we'll fix it. We'll fix it in post.
I take from your silence, Andrew, you're not really that familiar with the show.
No, I mean, I've watched it. My other half is a huge Father Ted fan, and I've seen probably the vast majority of the episodes. I haven't watched every single one of them, but when I have watched it, it is very funny. I haven't seen it for a very long time. But yeah, I do like it. I appreciate it, and hearing you guys talk about it doesn't make me want to go back and watch it again. Maybe watch the entirety of it. But yeah, even if I'm not like a super fan of Father Ted, I totally get it. I almost thought I said Super Ted for a second there, and that's the thing I am a super fan of. But Father Ted, no, I get why people revere it so much, and I definitely want to go back and watch it again. And talking about the different scenes and stuff, I remember a fair few of those, and they are hilarious. And it is. We talk about lightning in a bottle stuff. And this is one of those things, and it's very plain. Even if you don't like really like it, you can completely see why people love it as much as they do.
So I'm the only one here that hasn't seen it.
Wow.
Really?
Damn.
Jason.
I think it's on Netflix, isn't it? I think it is.
It's on all four.
Apparently it's on Japanese Netflix. I'm tempted to see. If they've given it a Japanese audio track, I will watch that shit with English subtitles. I want to watch Father Ted in Japanese. I think
that would be quite funny.
Even better.
Yeah.
So Jason has to watch Father Ted, and Rich has to watch all 7 seasons of Voyager. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've got easy tasks. So.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay,
well,
sounds fair.
Well, you heard it here first. Rich is going to go through all 7 seasons in a month.
Yeah, easy.
All right. Father Ted won several BAFTA awards, twice winning for Best Comedy Series, and remains a popular sitcom in the UK and Ireland. The 2001 poll by Channel 4, Dougal was ranked 5th on their list of the 100 greatest TV characters. In 2019, Father Ted was named the second greatest British sitcom after Fawlty Towers by a panel of comedy experts for the Radio Times. In March 2004, an American remake was in development. I knew this would get a reaction from Rich. This version would be set on the fictional island off the coast of New York. Steve Martin and Graham Norton would reportedly play Ted and Dougal.
Okay.
Oh, God. Anyway, continue.
Thank you. Martin had not been expected to take the role because of his stature, but agreed because he was a fan of the original series and would reportedly be paid £500,000 per episode.
Nice.
Norton was cast based on his popularity with American audiences and in reference to his appearance as Father Noel Furlong in the original series. But unfortunately, that didn't occur. But would you have liked to have seen that, Rich?
Probably in the same sense I liked to watch that Red Dwarf pilot.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That Red Dwarf pilot is very interesting to watch.
It's like driving past a car crash.
It's very strange, but also kind of intriguing as to what would they have done.
I think with Father Ted as well, I think, even though it was a show that did not mock religion, the fact it was part of the actual world the characters were in, I think for American audiences, or at least for like networks, whoever aired it, they would see it as, without any kind of consideration, they would see it as something that was taking the piss, and I think they would be jittery about it. I don't know if audiences would see it for what it was. They would kind of read between the lines and think there's something more than there is, and it's mocking, Catholicism or whatever. It's like, I think they'd see something that wasn't there, and I think the show probably wouldn't have gone down very well. It would have come across as being offensive or something. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But at least then, I think they'd be a bit more sensitive to it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's it. Ladies and gents, thanks very much for sticking around and listening to our ramblings. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us on this episode. It's been
nice to chat to you.
Nice to chat to all of you as well. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Usual podcast end coming up, mate. Just pimp away and let everybody know where they can find you and what you're,
Pimp away.
Pimp away.
Pimp away. I shall. Before I pimp, I just want to briefly mention.
Sorry,
if I did episode titles, that would probably be it.
Bitch better have my money.
There were obviously we only talked about 3 shows, but just to mention 4 of the shows that did come out this year, and to say what a great year 1995 was for TV. We got Sliders, we got The Outer Limits, we got Aeon Flux, and we got Xena Warrior Princess.
Aeon Flux, hell yeah!
So just to say those as well. But yes, it's been a great pleasure. It's been a lot of fun to talk about TV shows in the 1990. I was going to say in the 1995. That's not how you say that. In the 90s, specifically 95. Proper nostalgic. But yeah, if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Oddment84. You can find me, Rich, and Jason, and also Steve at Dreamcast Years on that podcast. And then you can find anything Lost in Cult related at Lost in Cult.
Excellent. Listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate you spending your time with us. As Andrew has already said, you can find Andrew, me and Rich with Steve talking video games on the Dreamcast Years, and you can also find me on the Playlist podcast for the Cross Players. You'll find a Linktree link in the show notes, which has all of our links, including our website, Twitter handles, and more. And if you have a few spare minutes, it would be awesome if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. And if you do, please let us know, and I'll make sure that it gets read out on the show too. Richard, Chris, any final words before we go?
From me, it would have to be, that would be an ecumenical matter. There you go, that'll do. That's my Father Jack impression. So
nice.
Very, very terrible, but
but perfect. Chris, any final words before we go?
There's a couple of phrases that I think we should leave on. There's coffee in a nebula. That's an obvious one. Because I like Andrew. I love that. That's such a great line.
It is.
And then set a course for home.
Perfect. Andrew, have you got a final word?
Oh, goodness. Bazinga.
No. Oh, no.
You're not welcome back.
Oh, no.
Well, all that's left for me to say is that you've been listening to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a 90s podcast to the max. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.